The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the policy or position of ONTV's management, staff, or board of directors.
Detroit basketball.
And hello and welcome into Views from the Sideline. I'm your host, Joey Tysick. My partner, Malik Hill. We got a lot to talk about because college basketball just went crazy again. We're going to do some fun stuff with the NBA today. We got All-Star stuff coming up, as crazy as that sounds. So we're going to have some fun with that. We're going to do a little mid-season awards for the NBA. But we have to start with this college basketball, because a couple of our teams have done some stuff that pretty important. We'll start right away with Michigan State, because I think right now that's actually probably the bigger headline. I didn't think it was going to be up until...
I don't know if it's the bigger headline.
I still
it's
think
the most recent headline.
Well, yeah, but I think...
I haven't heard a lot of talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, some people are like putting their eyes on them now.
I'm not going to put my eyes on them, but they are now making it interesting. So Michigan State, over the weekend, they had to play Indiana, and we already had said that Michigan State basically can't really lose any of these final games that they have. So they were able to beat Indiana pretty nicely. Aaron Henry had a really good game. But the bigger story was that last night they knocked Illinois down. They won 81-72, and Illinois is the fifth-ranked team in the country right now. So Michigan State is keeping their hopes for the tournament alive. They're still kind of slim, but that win is a big momentum boost, maybe, for them. What's your take on this game, or these last two games?
Well, from the jump, it was honestly a weird game. Like, Illinois looked out of sorts from the tip, and even though they were able to keep it close at some points, it was easily their worst game I've seen them play like all season. They look like a completely different team, and I really can't chalk it up to home court advantage, because that really hasn't done anything for Michigan State for most of this season.
Right.
So I guess it was just an off night from Illinois. And another part of it, is that Tom Izzo, it frustrates me talking about this, because he played his best lineup, and I hate talking about this because we've said why couldn't he just do this?
Yeah. And
now that the season is almost out of grasp, now that you have the smallest chance to get into the tournament, now you play your best lineup. Yeah. Now you start Rocket Watts. You play him over 30 minutes. He gives you 13 points and 5 assists and 1 turnover. Plays well. You get a great game out of Aaron Henry and Langford. Langford had like 16 rebounds for some reason. I don't know what that was. That was just a weird one. Hauser hit 3 or 4 threes. Like, they had it going. He played his best lineup for most of the game. He still tried to force AJ Hoggard in there a lot, and it wasn't a whole bunch of positive coming out of that.
Yeah.
But
luckily he only played 9 minutes.
Exactly.
For the game.
But the more he played Rocket Watch, the more he got comfortable.
Yeah.
And the more he started hitting shots. And this is what they could have looked like for most of the season, most likely.
Yeah.
And they haven't.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I was kind of saying last week, is that, there's been times where Izzo will do this thing where all of a sudden he's like, okay, nothing's been working. Let's go to our tournament lineup, like what he thinks is going to be what they go. And then he sticks to it. And it seems like that's what he's doing. But it does seem like he probably did it a little too late, because, again, they still have to win more games, and their schedule doesn't get any easier.
First of all, they have to beat Indiana and Maryland. They can't lose to one of those teams.
Yeah.
You can't have a bad loss, even though on their resume thing yesterday they put on the game, it said they have no bad losses because they play in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
I guess.
It does help them a little bit. And I mean, it's really evident that this is what Izzo is going to, I think this is the lineup moving forward because 4 of these guys played over 30 minutes. And you don't see that in college basketball very often. So that's just telling me that.
Well, for teams that aren't very deep, you see that usually.
Right. Well,
and this is a team that isn't extremely deep.
But that's also something that you see when you get to tournament time is that a lot of guys' minutes go up and they stick with the top guys. And Michigan State's got to start it early, and it looks like they have. I don't know if this is gonna change anything, if this is gonna allow them to actually get into the tournament, but it at least makes it interesting for us.
To me, they have to win. How many games do they have left? 5.
I believe it's 5.
Indiana, Ohio State,
So
Maryland, Michigan.
Yeah, so they play Ohio State tomorrow, which that's another huge game. That's going to be on ESPN. They're playing Maryland this weekend, and then they have Indiana on March 2nd, and then Michigan, and then they play Michigan again.
If they beat Ohio State and Michigan once, and they can't lose.
Yeah, they can't lose Maryland or Indiana.
They can't lose Maryland or Indiana, and then beat Ohio State and Michigan once, and then lose to Michigan once. They have to win Indiana and Maryland to make people see, okay, we're good now. Like we beat up on average competition.
Yeah,
and then I think if they win those games and they beat Michigan or Ohio State, I think they're in because I think the tournament. I think they want one of the blue bloods in there.
Yeah,
and they'll put them in as like an 11 seed.
Yeah,
if they beat one of those.
And
teams.
if you go down the stretch, you beat Illinois, Ohio State, and Michigan, and that gets you to basically 500 in the conference. I think that's pretty deserving. I think as well.
Although to me it shouldn't be. They shouldn't have a chance. To me, they're 2-8 in quad one. They were 11-9 going into last night's game. Like they've been terrible.
Mm-hmm.
They have not been good, but if they start looking good now, and they have the name Michigan State, they're probably going to get in at the very end, like a play-in game or something.
Yeah, and I think if they do get into that kind of seeding, which is most likely what it would be, then they actually become sort of a scary tournament team too, because they've run through the gauntlet at the end of their season. I'm just saying. You have to admit.
This makes me angry.
If
every bit of it.
If a Big Ten school like Michigan State becomes a seed like that, then they're on upset alert that they can upset one of these higher seeds.
I guess, yeah.
But I will say that having to verse Indiana again is a little bit spooky because Trace Jackson Davis actually torched them. They had no answer for him. So there's a chance that Indiana could come back and beat them the second time. But we'll see. Like I said, if anything, I like that it makes it interesting for us in the Big Ten, because for me personally, the more Big Ten schools that we get in the tournament, the better. So I wouldn't mind Michigan State making it in. But yeah, it's definitely been a rough season for them. Let's go on.
Honestly, if Indiana or Maryland beat them, Indiana and Maryland have better resumes.
Yeah.
If we're being honest.
Mm-hmm.
That's why even if they beat Ohio State and Michigan, can't lose to one of them. Because they have better records.
Yeah. I still think though, if they beat Ohio State and they beat Michigan both times, they could drop Maryland or Indiana and still make it in. That's just my opinion. Let's go to the other side though. Michigan also making big headlines. They have now solidified themselves as the best in the Big Ten. They took on Ohio State over the weekend on Sunday, and it was a really good game. It was a lot of back and forth. Both teams kind of never really pulling away. But, I think it's Michigan's depth that keeps them so dangerous in this tournament that we're coming up to. But Ohio State, Dwayne Washington had a game. And, E.J. Liddell was going to get his, and he did. But Dwayne Washington came on late in that game, which made it very scary for Michigan.
In the last 40 seconds, he decided to score 12 points.
Yeah.
That's the weird part. He would not miss a three
Yep.
in the last like 40 or 50 seconds.
Yeah, he wasn't.
And man, it was scaring me.
Yeah, it made it a really, really close game.
Yeah.
But Michigan was able to come out on top, and that's the thing that we kind of wanted to talk about is the way that Michigan can close games. They have multiple guys that shoot 90% from the free throw line, and that's like exactly what you want to see heading into a tournament, and in big games, just in general like this. You want to be able to have these guys that down the stretch, if it's a close game and you're trying to close it out, that you can rely on them confidently to hit free throws, and that you're not looking for one guy when you're inbounding the ball. That you can rely on everybody. Isaiah Livers was actually off on his free throws this week. He was 2 of 4. Hunter Dickinson, though, the big man, 6 of 6. Franz Wagner, 4 of 6. Eli Brooks, 4 of 4. Smith was 3 of 4. So, like, they shot 80% as a team from the free throw line, and their 2 best free throw shooters were the ones that missed. So, that's a good sign for them. They do have Iowa tomorrow.
Yep.
So, they also have a big game along. So, between Michigan and Michigan State, those are some big games for them, which is going to be really fun to watch. But what do you think about this Michigan team now that they've knocked off Ohio State?
The fact that the guy that a lot of people consider to be their best player in Franz Wagner, he had a solid game, but he wasn't even close to having the best game of anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I think he finished with like 9 points, 6 rebounds, and like 2 steals or something like that. But everybody else, the way they shot in the first half was just ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
they shot like 70% from 3.
Mhm.
Everybody that had an open look hit one. Eli Brooks just came out firing. Shondy Brown came in the game. He came out
I
firing.
was going to say, he had 15 off the
Yeah.
bench.
Hunter Dickinson didn't get it going in the first half, really, but in the second half, he took over.
Mhm.
They only hit 1 3 in the second half. That really shows you how this team can win in any way,
Mhm.
whether it's hitting threes or just like going down to the post. Hunter Dickinson is such a high IQ guy that he's going to figure out where the wide open guy is if he gets double teamed or he doesn't have a good shot at getting a bucket in the post. Whoever he passes it to is a 3-point threat. They could pump fake and hit somebody else. Like, there are everybody on the court has a chance to hit a shot, and like they're very effective offensive players. So it's a pick your poison thing, honestly.
Yeah.
And Ohio State, they stayed in the game the entire time. They kept punching back, but all it took was like a few key mistakes from them. That behind the back pass from Justice Suing in the last few minutes
Yeah.
lead into Isaiah Livers getting the and one.
Mhm.
That completely flipped it, and then they stretched that out to like an 8-point lead.
Mhm.
But yeah, then Dwayne started hitting 3 after 3 after 3 and keeping them in it.
Yep.
But yeah, they ended up winning it 92-87, and yeah, there's not much else you could say about this team. They've shown you almost everything.
Mhm.
There isn't a weakness you can really come up with besides maybe when they go against teams like Gonzaga or Butler or teams with like bigger, more athletic guards
Mhm.
that are like teams with better guards, I guess. Even though Mike Smith and Eli Brooks have played really well in their own right,
Yeah.
they're not the most talented guys in the country.
Right.
So in a situation like that, maybe they'd be at a disadvantage, but
Mhm.
then you can still go to Hunter Dickinson. You still got Isaiah Livers. You still got Franz Wagner. Wagner and Livers are still high-level defenders. Shondy Brown comes off the bench. He's just an absolute dog. Lockdown defender, hits threes, high energy. That stretch in the second half where he got 3 straight offensive rebounds
Mhm.
and ended up finishing with the layup, like that showed you honestly everything you needed to know about that team. Like, it was EJ Liddell and I think their other big man in the paint right there.
Mhm.
And he jumped over them and got 3 straight offensive rebounds and finished it. Like, they're in such sync with each other. They play so hard. They play for each other. They play for Juwan Howard. And they're the third best team in the country.
Yeah.
And Ohio State isn't far off because
Right.
they were in it almost the whole game.
Mhm.
But Michigan, they pulled it out.
Yeah. And now my question would be for Michigan, is it Final Four? I mean, it's almost championship or bust to me. But is it at least Final Four or bust? Because if
Yes.
after having such a crazy good season that they've had so far, and they still got a couple more games that they gotta lock in. Especially like I said, tomorrow this Iowa game is going to be another big one. Because Iowa's always kind of surging there, looking around. But yeah, I think it's Final Four or bust because we know what we got out of this team. Isaiah Livers came back for this. They got to do it. They got to make it. And like I said, I'm almost on the cusp of like they got to make it to the championship game.
A lot of people have that opinion.
Yeah.
That if they didn't make it to the championship, then they wouldn't live up to the high level they've played at this entire season.
And honestly, for the Big Ten in general, if any of these Big Ten teams falter, or if all of them somehow falter in this tournament, then we go right back to everybody saying, "Oh, see what happens when the Big Ten gets to the tournament. They can't win like the ACC does and all that stuff." And this is the time for the Big Ten to take over as a conference. And
they have 3 or 4, maybe 4 teams. I think Iowa is pretty good, but I still don't think, because they're so bad on defense.
Yeah.
I don't think they can make a like really, really deep run. Ohio State, Illinois, Michigan, each of them could make the Final Four. I don't know what happened to Illinois last night. That was just a really weird off night where they couldn't.
Sunmu didn't actually have a very good game either for that one.
Yeah, it was an off one, but 3 of those teams could make the Final Four, and if one of them doesn't make it, it would be a bad look.
Yeah, and like I said, with the ACC not being what they have been this year, it's the time to pounce. And yeah, the Big Ten really needs to. A couple other things. Baylor almost lost to 2-17, or they were 2-16 going into it. Iowa State last night.
Gotta mention one of the factors.
Kind of crazy. What's the factor?
2-week layoff.
Yeah.
Michigan, they fought back and beat Wisconsin, but in that first half against Wisconsin, they looked terrible.
Yeah.
Like Isaiah Livers was the only person that had it going, and they couldn't get much going. With that much of a layoff, you've got to get back into a rhythm. And it took most of the game. Iowa State gave them everything they could take, but they ended up winning it. So I'm not really doubting them, really. It's just, when you're out for that long, it's not much you can do.
Yeah. Another pretty meaningful game as well. Texas beat Kansas in overtime. Kind of a meaningful game for both of those teams.
Yeah. Texas had been up and down lately, so they needed that one.
Yeah.
Because Kansas has been on a hot streak.
Right. So they kind of knocked Kansas back down to earth a little bit. Also, we'll touch on Malik's team, San Diego State. He's excited about them.
They're not really my team this year, but I still support them on the low.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't bring them, but if they make a run in the tournament, you bet I will pull out my flag and wave it proudly once again. But we're a Loyola podcast this March.
Yeah.
We've made that clear.
I told Sammy about Loyola Chicago, and he was excited to see them back again.
Cameron Krutwig, if he is not the Naismith winner, then it's rigged. It is rigged, and college basketball is a sham.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what Sammy says about Michigan State now, because when I talked with him on Monday, he was kind of down in the dumps, thinking that Michigan State might be losing, and he's thinking, what the heck's going on? So with that Illinois win over Illinois, I wonder if he's already flipped the script and Michigan State's going to the championship game. I don't know.
I honestly think it is set up for Michigan State to make it at the very last one. Those back-to-back games at the end against Michigan is like, okay, we're giving you 2 shots.
Yeah.
If you lose to Ohio State, here you go.
Yeah.
You got to. If you lose those 2, then you deserve to be out. But we're giving you the chance.
Yeah. I feel like they have to beat Ohio State. I think.
Yeah. Honestly,
personally,
I wouldn't be surprised if they beat Michigan once because of the rivalry, and they'll be up for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll probably be 1-1.
It'll be like the reminder from the football season. Sorry.
Listen, I'm like we won't talk about that, even though they just started spring practice.
Anyway,
I don't have high hopes for them. Like I said, I just hope for the best.
Anyway, we are still trying to figure out how we're gonna do this tournament podcast like we like to do every year. I already kind of talked to Sammy about it. We are obviously thinking about doing Zoom or something, or we might record some segments of people um, over Zoom that maybe can't attend live, and then we'll just get their opinions. We'll talk about their opinions. Either way, we're gonna try to figure it out. See if we can pack some guests into a Zoom call or something, so that we can have our normal tournament bracket special. So I'm excited for that. Let's move on to the NBA, as college basketball obviously has some big games coming up. So we'll talk about those next week. The NBA is reaching kind of their midway point, sort of. They're reaching that All-Star break kind of area. They're looking at March 7th, I believe, as their All-Star game, trying to do it in Atlanta.
Have we talked about how we feel about there being All-Star festivities?
Not really, but we can talk
I-
about it in this.
Yeah.
But yeah, they decided to go ahead and do the All-Star game. Did they say they said they're doing the dunk contest, didn't they, or something?
I think that's it. What I've heard is like I've seen it go across the ticker on ESPN.
Mhm.
Like it might be a halftime thing.
That's what I
Yeah.
think I saw as well.
I'm not sure how that would work since, like, I guess it wouldn't be a full concert. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think
maybe they just do a little thing.
yeah, and I think they're still kind of trying to figure out what they're gonna do, because they do have the slam dunk 3-point contest and the skills challenge all on the on NBA.com. Just recently posted a couple days ago.
Yeah, then I'm not sure how.
Yeah, the dunk contest they say is halftime of the game.
Is it just going to be like a 20-minute dunk off or something?
It might be.
I'm assuming.
It might be awful.
Or extend halftime. Who knows?
The 3-point contest is prior to tip off.
Okay.
So they're going to do
All
everything
right.
in one night. So I'm assuming the skills challenge is also going to be that way as well. Yep, prior to tip off. So it's all going to be that night. Skills challenge and 3-point contests are going to be just before the game starts. Slam dunk is going to be at halftime. So they're getting it all in. I'm assuming that it's not going to be as exciting as normal. But, something is better than nothing.
Yeah. Like if they got like 3 dudes and said, okay, like each of you get 3 dunks, and then
Yeah.
we'll determine a winner for this specific contest.
Right.
Or
Or I could see them doing like 2 rounds or something. Yeah. I wonder who they're going to get to do it, though. That's always the key.
Throw Anthony Edwards in there, man. After he
Uh.
just demolished.
The problem is, do you think he's a creative dunker? Because you need that element of creativity.
I've known about him for years, so I saw a video of him at 16 going between the legs in a game.
Okay.
Like, I think he has enough hang time to pull out some wild stuff.
Yeah.
He's like head at the rim type bounce.
Right. Yeah. That's another thing. Basically, put poster of the year on.
Yuta Watanabe.
Poor Watanabe.
Yeah.
Oh, well. So before we get into more of the All-Star stuff, we're going to do like a mock All-Star draft between the two of us. I think it's kind of fun. But before we do that, I want to do an NBA mid-season awards, something we kind of like to do every once in a while, kind of think about who could be the winners at the end of the season at this midway point, basically, of the season. So, kind of throwing Malik on the spot. He didn't really know before coming in today.
Yep.
But so let's start right away with most improved player of the year. Who you got off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, the most improved.
I guess if you want, I can go first because I
You go.
prepared, so then you
you
can
go
think
first.
about it. So my most improved, and I also kind of had to look at some of the stuff going on and stats and stuff. I'm gonna go most improved with Jaylen Brown, and
Okay.
it's like kind of an obvious pick, but also I think he's a player that's always had that potential. So it's not a big surprise for him to improve because now he's that second guy behind Tatum. But also he had to step up and actually achieve that potential. So I think I'm going to give it to him just because he stepped into the role and ran away with it. He even jumped ahead of Kemba Walker, who I thought maybe could have been that number 2 guy for that team, but it's been Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum this whole year. So I'm going to give it to Jaylen Brown for most improved player. Also, I thought you could maybe do Sabonis as well. He's also in a similar situation to Jaylen Brown.
Question. I do not remember if, when it comes to most improved, do they usually pick dudes on winning teams? Or Or do they just go with the guy
Not-
that improved the most?
Not necessarily.
I can't remember the precedent for the award.
No, and I would say that you can put it to your own interpretation.
Okay.
Like, you're not trying to predict.
Then if we're just straight up going most improved,
Yeah, you're not trying to predict who you think is going to win the award, just who you think deserves the award.
I'm going Jeremy Grant
Okay.
because this is an improvement that nobody could have seen coming.
Yeah,
Although
that was another option.
Denver fought hard to keep him
Mhm.
because they didn't think another team was going to throw money at him like they would. So, yeah, when Detroit came in there and stole him, they took a chance on him, and he took a chance on himself.
Yeah.
We didn't know at the time that Denver was going to miss him a lot, but they figured at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and it turns out to be true.
Yeah.
Jeremy Grant, not only he's not an inefficient like Josh Smith type, okay, I'm going to put up 5 more points a game, but I'm shooting like 24% from 3, and I
Mhm.
haven't gotten better at all. He is a highly efficient 24-point per game scorer. And I'm sure that, like, once they get, like, a real star, if they get a real star next to him, I'm sure his numbers might not stay up that high, but he's shown that if you need to depend on him to be that level of a guy, Jeremy Grant can do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, weird high 30s shooting from 3, almost 50 from the field. Like, incredible improvement, honestly.
Yeah. Now, I do think that Jeremy Grant struggled a little bit recently after his 43-point outburst. He's kind of struggled a little bit from the floor recently, but yeah, I think that's a good pick. He was another one that I kind of thought of. Sixth man of the year.
This should be there's no argument about this.
I was going to say, I think this one is clear cut. Normally, you'd look at guys like Lou Williams or something.
Let's both say it on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Jordan
Jordan Clarkson.
Yeah, I mean, when you can get a guy that can score 40 off the bench on any given night,
Yeah.
and honestly, he can easily get 20, 25 every night for
No,
you.
the crazy thing is, nobody saw this coming at all,
Mm-hmm.
and like he's been like traded from team to team for a reason.
Well, every time he gets traded, I feel like he always produces. Not at this level.
Like from the start, yeah, but it's never been consistent.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just like matured to the point where he understands exactly what his role is, and he's just
Yeah.
like just at peace of mind, and he's comfortable in that role now.
Yeah.
But Utah gave him money to stay for a reason.
Right. And they gave him the green light. Be like,
Yeah.
hey, you're the guy off the bench. Fire as much
Yeah,
as you need.
they saw something in him from last season.
Mm-hmm.
In the bubble, he was honestly, after Donovan Mitchell, he was their most dependable scorer.
Yeah.
He would get them 25 to 30 like in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
They saw that, gave him the contract, and he has not let them down.
Yeah.
He's the best guy in one of the best, like a top 3 bench unit in the NBA.
Yeah.
And it's been ridiculous.
Yeah. And to have both him and occasionally, depending on their lineup, being able to throw him or possibly Joe Ingles off the bench, like Utah's just deep. And it's kind of like surprisingly deep.
Yeah, their chemistry, I'm surprised, even though a lot of this team has been together for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it took Mike Conley a year to get it, and now he's got it.
Yeah.
He's back to being Mike Conley. Rudy Gobert is playing the best he's ever played. Bogdanovich is healthy and playing well. Like, Joe Ingles is playing great. Like, the way they move the ball, they play like the old Spurs.
Yeah.
It is, like, weird to see the Utah Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are clips weekly of, like, okay, Donovan Mitchell goes up under the rim, like, reverse pass to Bogdanovich. He catches it one hand. Ingles catches it left hand behind the back.
Yeah.
And then somebody hits a 3, and it's like,
Yeah.
who are these players?
Yeah, they're just
what is
having
this
fun.
team? Like, how are they playing like this?
Mhm.
It's so weird.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. Which leads into Coach of the Year. I went with Quinn Snyder. The Jazz are at the top of the West. When you're at the top of the West over the former champion Lakers, one of the best teams that people think, the Clippers, things like that, I don't know how you can't deny Quinn Snyder Coach of the Year. I will give an honorable mention, though, to Monty Williams to put the Suns in 4th by basically just adding Chris Paul to the team. I know Chris Paul is a veteran, great leader. He always seems to show up for these teams. We've seen it in the past with OKC and stuff. But Monty Williams has to be part of that.
Yeah. Under average to worse coaching, that transition could have been a lot slower,
Mm-hmm.
and they could be like a 10th seed right now.
Yeah.
But Monty and CP have that connection all the way back from New Orleans.
Yep.
And after like 6 games, it just clicked.
Yeah. And you saw it at the end in the bubble. Like the Suns made a crazy run to try to make it into the playoffs. So they've just kind of rode that momentum. They started off a little bit slow this season, but they've gotten it going. And Devin Booker and Chris Paul are working really well together. So yeah. But anyway, Quinn Snyder. Do you have any rebuttal to that?
I'm going to go
Or
with a 1A and 1B.
Okay.
My 1A is Quinn Snyder
Mhm.
because, nobody could have predicted the Jazz looking like the old Spurs. And how does Quinn Snyder just keeps topping himself every season, it seems like.
Yeah.
Like, no matter who gets hurt,
Mm-hmm.
like his team, they just play well and they
Yep.
figure it out. They haven't made a deep playoff run yet, but they're Utah. Nobody expects it.
Yeah.
They could eventually.
Right.
My 1B, it's Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
That's
one I considered.
He hasn't fully redeemed himself from that fallout with the Clippers last year
Mm-hmm.
and how that ended in like just so messy. But has he unlocked Joel Embiid?
Yeah. It's hard to say.
Like, Joel Embiid is playing how we all thought he should have been playing
Mm-hmm.
for years. I'm not going to spoil it. He's at the top of MVP talks right now.
Yeah.
Him, Jokic, Dame Lillard, they're up there because of what they've done for their teams.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid has this team at like the 2. They've been 1 for most of the season, but
Mhm.
now I think Brooklyn is Brooklyn 1 now. I can't remember. They went on like a 6 or 7 game win streak.
They might be close. I don't
maybe
think
maybe Philly still won.
I don't think so, but it's definitely closer now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Philly's still technically ahead. They both have 21 wins. Sixers just have 11
Okay.
loses. So they're basically tied.
But he came out. Do you remember his rookie year when? Well, technically his rookie year.
Mhm.
It was his second year, wasn't it?
Yeah, cuz
Yeah.
he sat out.
When he came out and just started dominating,
Mhm.
and he looked like he was like the next Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yeah.
And ever since then, he's just shown signs. Even though he's still averaged like 26 and 12,
Yeah.
which is high level stuff, we've known he could be even greater. In this season, he's looking like Olajuwon Jr. The post game is all there. His jumper has like gotten better even more. Like he hits threes like a guard almost now. And in the clutch, like he plays even better. He plays longer. He's had, of course he's gonna sit out some games. He's had some little like tic-tacky injuries. He's so big. He's that big. He's not gonna just be completely healthy all the time, but he's been insane. It still annoys me that Ben Simmons will only score when he has to, but he's at such a high level in every part of the game, like defense, passing, rebounding. Even like when he plays off ball, he's setting screens and just moving around. Like he's always in the right place and putting other people in the right place too. And then when Joel or Ben is out, other guys are stepping up. And there was a stretch of like a week where one guy was missing a game. Danny Green wasn't playing.
Mhm.
Seth Curry hadn't played until like last week. Still had the best record in the East. So
Yeah. And
1B.
Tobias Harris has been really underrated this season.
Yeah, last time he played really well before the Sixers was with Doc Rivers
Mm-hmm.
for that little stint in LA.
Yeah.
So yeah, and honorable mention to Monty Williams, like you said,
Mhm.
he's done a great job.
Defensive player of the year, I think it's pretty obvious. But I do have some guys that I'll throw in. My defensive player of the year is Rudy Gobert. Yeah. I just don't see anybody that I feel like is tearing it up defensively as much as he does year in and year out. And maybe that's the cop out. But that's just kind of what I'm going with. I threw in honorable mentions for Clint Capella's kind of like the last honorable mention, but Miles Turner, because of the incredible rate of shot blocking that he's had this season. So
I
Yeah.
am dumbfounded right now.
really,
You didn't bring up the best defender in the NBA right now.
okay,
A guy that I was just talking about. Ben Simmons is my defensive player of the year.
okay,
They literally throw him on every team's best player.
mm-hmm.
Whenever somebody gets hot, they just throw Ben on him. And yeah, guys like Dame Lillard and like Steph Curry, they're going to get off because they're so great on offense that it's close to impossible to stop them.
Yeah.
But he does a well job on most top players and a great shutdown job on guys that like play the same position as him. You can throw him on any position. He's switchable anywhere. Like, to me, he's the best defender in the league to me.
Okay.
I give it to Ben Simmons.
I mean, I think that's a good pick. Gobert just locks down the
That's why-
paint. like-
Gobert is like the pick every year. And
yeah. I get it. I get
Yeah.
it going away from him.
When
That's
Pete-
how it felt.
yeah.
It felt for a while with like Draymond Green and stuff. And it seems like that for a while with a lot of defensive player of the years. You get runs of like defensive player of the years.
Because most people don't pay attention to defense, Rudy Gobert is usually the like,
Yeah.
he's a defensive guy, so people go with that. But Ben has been like ridiculous.
Yeah. And I could have said Jaylen Brown at one point, but the Sixers are on this big loss. They've just been terrible lately, so I couldn't put myself to do it. But Jaylen Brown's kind of close. Move on to Rookie of the Year. Also kind of a no-brainer. This rookie class has actually been kind of how we figured. Like, it's pretty deep. There's been some guys like Sadiq Bey that we've seen. Saban Lee now all of a sudden for the Pistons. A lot of these later picks, Peyton Pritchard, that have done really well in their limited roles. But out of the top picks, you got to go LaMelo. I mean, he's just fit in perfectly to the NBA. He does it a little bit everywhere. He scores. He gets rebounds. He gets assists. And he just looks comfortable out there. My sort of honorable mention, who he keeps getting closer and closer, is Tyreese Albertan. He's definitely played really good.
He might be their like third best player.
Yeah, and the Kings, unfortunately, is just a terrible team. So I
thought they were like
well,
9th or 10th in the West.
yeah, but they're all
They've fallen off.
they're all kind of tied there.
Yeah, they're 12-19. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'd put Halliburton close, somewhat, but LaMelo I think is pretty easy.
Yeah, I can't believe how quickly he just adjusted like it was nothing
Mm-hmm.
to the NBA. I think everybody was afraid of the hype because hype is such a normal thing now. Every other year, there's a new kid that's 15 or 16 to get hyped up on and to watch him grow into a NBA legend.
Yeah.
And only a few have really lived up to that hype. We've watched LaMelo since he was like 13.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been a social media like superstar and celebrity that entire time.
Yeah.
His dad has taken him overseas. He's come back and played high school. He went back overseas to Australia because he couldn't play in college. And in Australia, he looked shaky at times, but also dominant at times.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know how he would take real coaching for the first time. I didn't know how he would take real discipline. And he's been a basketball prodigy this entire time.
Mm-hmm.
He's dominated on like at every level. And he just stepped up to the NBA and was like, "Oh, I'm playing basketball again. Okay."
Yeah.
I'm just he's been playing basketball nonstop for like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's just basketball to him.
Yeah.
That's the like scary part.
Mm-hmm.
There's no distinction between the NBA and like Australia. It's just give me the ball and let's play.
And that's, I mean, you got to hand it to him that's part of
Yeah.
being in the spotlight for that long. Is like it's what he's been used to his entire life. The NBA, it really only gave him a little tiny bit more recognition. It just means that he made it.
Exactly. And he's in Charlotte, so all the cameras in the world aren't on him.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been impressive. And then Anthony Edwards and James Wiseman, they've had their flashes.
Anthony, he's been the highlight guy.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
they haven't gotten
Yeah.
consistent minutes yet. Their teams are still kind of working them in. I'm sure that they're going to be good players at some point, but we just haven't seen it enough from those guys. Okay. So those are our mid-season. Oh, wait. I forgot the MVP because I didn't write anything down because I left it blank. MVP. And I know Malik already has his MVP, so you might as well just announce it right now.
Nikola, I'm gonna go Joel Embiid.
I knew.
Even though I want Nikola to win it, he's the one thing carrying that Nuggets team.
Mm-hmm.
Since Jamal Murray is just getting on track now, it took like playing against the Cavs, dropping 50 on them, for him to get back into a groove. So
Yeah.
hopefully he keeps it up. But yeah, Joel, he's just been a monster.
Yeah.
He's been insane. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
he's been
it's
incredible.
hard to argue against Joel Embiid, but I'm gonna do it just for the fans, just for Dame time. Damian
I
Lillard.
love the pick.
I want Damian Lillard to win MVP. I know he won't because he's snubbed by
The
every.
Blazers are the 4 seed right now.
Yeah. No, the Blazers are tied with the Spurs at the 5. Oh wait,
Well, they were the 4 seed a few days ago.
they technically should be like the 5, but because of percentages and the Spurs haven't played, that technically they're the 6. But they're 18 and 13, so they're not that far behind 4th. But Damian Lillard has carried that team. CJ McCollum was having, like we said, one of his best seasons of his career. Hurt. Yusuf Nurkic was back. They were excited. Hurt. So who do they have left on that team? An old Carmelo Anthony, who I love, and he does
Who
great.
has been balling?
Who's been playing good.
Yeah.
And then they have a Gary Trent, who's just a primetime shooter. But they're not takeover guys. And Damian Lillard is that takeover guy. And there's so many times where he just wills this team to win. And so, and even, we'll talk about it in a minute with the All-Star stuff, he might have gotten snubbed a little bit from the starters. But I think he deserves something. And an MVP would be huge for him. And I think that would be really cool. I don't think he'll win it, but that's just my pick. Joel Embiid would probably be right there too, though. I agree with that.
Those are the top 3. And people want Bron to get another one,
Yeah.
but I don't see him sneaking back in unless he just goes on a crazy like run.
Yeah.
Which is Bron, so it's possible, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Right.
Those guys are just on a ridiculous tear.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get back into the All-Star stuff. We kind of talked about it at the very beginning of the show. But I wanted to talk about who your All-Star snubs potentially were. So I'll go over the All-Stars real quick. The starters are obviously LeBron and Durant are the captains for each team. Then there's Giannis, Steph Curry, Bradley Beal, Luka Doncic, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, Kyrie, Kawhi. And then they just announced their reserves. Jaylen Brown, Anthony Davis. He's going to get replaced by somebody. I'm curious who that will be. James Harden, Paul George, Zach LaVine, Rudy Gobert, Julius Randle, Damian Lillard, Ben Simmons, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Chris Paul, Nikola Vucevic, and Zion Williamson. So, out of those players, do you think... So, the big controversy, we'll go over the big one real quick. There was a big controversy, not big, but, Damian Lillard versus Luka Doncic being the starter. I think Damian Lillard got a little bit snubbed because his team is ahead of the Mavericks. Luka Doncic is a great player, obviously, and all that. But I just think usually in the All-Star, you want to favor starters who are on winning teams. And right now, the Mavericks just aren't winning. So I would have went with Damian Lillard. What are your thoughts on that real quick?
Well, I would have went with him as a starter too, but this is a point where I think there are certain parts of the All-Star game where it's like, who starts, who's a reserve? Like, they're all All-Stars when it comes down to that point to me.
Yeah.
Like, Luka is the international like next guy that everybody loves. I'm not surprised he's starting and it doesn't like make me angry.
Yeah, to be fair, it is fan voting, so
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
If Dame wasn't an All-Star, that's what will make me mad.
Right.
But Dame is a All-Star. He probably should be starting over Luka just because of what he's done this season for his team. But he's an All-Star.
Yeah.
So it is what it is, honestly, to me.
Right. Do you have any snubs that you thought? I know you had one that you wanted to bring up because we talked about it over texting. But who do you think was like the biggest snub for you in these All-Star reserves? Because those just got announced.
Well, on the West side, I think Anthony Davis's replacement. Well, Christian Wood is hurt, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's a huge snub for a lot of people, even though he's hurt. But they have to replace Anthony Davis with another forward, don't they?
I believe so.
Yeah, I wish they would just replace him with Devin Booker because
Yeah.
Devin Booker he is an All-Star player.
Mhm.
He should be an All-Star. He should have gotten in over Devin Booker, but I think some of the people on the committee that select the All-Stars, they respect Chris Paul so much, and they want an old guy to get in there and like maintain that respect.
Yeah.
And because he's turned around that Suns team and had such an effect, they want him to get the shine. But
Right.
Devin Booker is the all-star.
Yeah.
And on the East side, we love Vucevic.
Mm-hmm.
He's our guy. Most underrated player maybe of the past 10 years.
Yep.
But Sabonis. He's the best player on a winning team in the East.
Yeah.
And Vucevic's numbers aren't that much better than his, if they're even really better.
Yeah.
Sabonis should have been the guy in there.
Yeah.
Besides,
I think Sabonis has a little bit less points per game, but probably a little bit more rebounding than Vooch. But I don't know. It's tough. It comes down to winning at that point, and the Magic just can't win very many games. If they were doing better, I think I wouldn't have any much of an argument. But I do agree with you. I think Sabonis probably deserved it a little bit more. Also, same with Devin Booker. I think Devin Booker deserved to be in there. Probably over Chris Paul. And also, the hard one too for me is Zach LaVine. I love that he made it to an All-Star game, but not having a guy like Jimmy Butler, because I think Jimmy has had a really good stretch as of late because he's committed to his role.
I still couldn't put him over LaVine this year.
Yeah.
Zach has been
Just for
so
numbers.
elite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
That's Brad Beal's the best 2-guard in the league.
Yeah.
Even though the Wizards have improved over the past 2 weeks, they've been really bad, but Brad Beal is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Trae Young is also kind of close, but the Hawks, they were doing really good early on in the season. They've kind of fallen off, so he's also one that kind of fell to the wayside. But anyway, the fun thing that I wanted to do today was to do our own little NBA All-Star draft as they normally do. Do you want to be Kevin Durant or LeBron James? I'll give you the pick.
I'll be KD.
Okay. I'll be LeBron, even though I'm the biggest LeBron hater.
Wait, LeBron is the West?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, LeBron. I got that wrong the first time. I meant LeBron.
Why does the side matter?
I forgot. They don't do East-West anymore.
No,
do
they just pick.
I'm just.
They
all
just
over
have
the
to have an
place.
even amount from both.
I guess I'll stick with KD then.
Okay. So you'll be KD. I'll be LeBron. And since I'm a big LeBron hater, you're going to have to give me the first pick.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to take your first pick anyway. I'm going with Steph Curry. Because how do you not want to be pair LeBron and Steph Curry together? Do you have the roster for it? If you go to NBA.com.
I am on the list of stats leaders in the NBA. And those are pretty much all the all-stars in the top stats leaders. So that's what I'm going off of.
Okay.
All these dudes are all-stars, so that's
The rest of the starters are Giannis, Bradley Beal, Luka Doncic, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, Kawhi Leonard, or Kyrie Irving.
Are we picking our own starters or just going with that list?
Well, those are the starters, so those are the first guys that you have to pick from.
Have to?
Yeah.
How can I make my own starter?
Wait, who do you want to pick over those guys?
Dame. I'm just kidding. I guess I'll go with Luka.
I'm pretty sure that's how they usually do it. Is they usually go and pick all the starters first, go back and forth. All right. With my second pick, I gotta take Joel Embiid. How do you not take Joel Embiid, LeBron, and Steph Curry? Sounds disgusting.
My second pick is James Harden. KD, James, and Luka.
Wait, James is a reserve.
He's a reserve. I thought he was a starter.
No.
Oh my god.
Because he's in the East, so I think
I thought he was a starter.
because now he's in the East. So Kyrie's
He's the
Nets.
starter?
Yeah, Kyrie's the Nets.
Oh Jesus.
So you got Giannis, Bradley Beal, Jokic, Kawhi, or Kyrie.
Give me Jokic.
Okay. All right. Well, then this fits perfectly. I'm going to take Bradley Beal. So you got Giannis, Kyrie, or Kawhi.
Give me Kyrie.
Okay, this is fitting perfectly into my draft. I'm going to take Giannis. I feel like my
I
team
get
is
Kawhi.
superior.
I feel like my team does just as much damage.
You're probably right. I mean, they're all
Yeah.
all-stars,
Exactly. Yeah.
but it's just always funny how that works. Okay, so now we're on to the reserves. The problem is we don't know who Anthony Davis's replacement will be. I will give you the first pick of the reserves. So now if you want to take James Harden, you can.
Give me Dame.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's the other one. Okay. I am going to take... I really want to take Vucevic, but I'm not going to. You know what? I'm going to take Zach LaVine. You got to have some spice in your team.
Give me Jaylen Brown.
And then I am going to take... I'm going to start taking all my guys. I'm going to take Julius Randle.
Donovan Mitchell was a reserve, right?
Yep. I was leaving him for you potentially. If you want him.
I'm thinking. Did you say you just took Julius Randle?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You know what? Give me Jason Tatum too.
I mean, it's always fun to have teammates. I am going to take... I'm going to take Zion. We got Zach LaVine and Zion Williamson off the bench.
So can I pick a reserve?
Like,
Or do I just have to stick with Anthony Davis and wait for the reserve?
all right, I'll give you who you think it would be the
Give me
replacement.
Devin Booker.
Okay. All right, fair enough. I'm going to bring a piece of the banana boat back. I'm going to put CP3 on my team.
Give me Vucevic,
Oh,
the killer himself.
all right, fair enough. Let's see, what do I need? Actually, Rudy Gobert fits into my team perfectly.
Who else is left?
Let's see. We got James Harden, Paul George. Paul George, Ben Simmons. And that's it.
Give me Ben.
I might be able to make a graphic of this at some point too, which would be funny. I'm gonna pick, and to have James Harden be the last pick is so funny. I'm gonna pick Paul George.
I'm taking James, and my reserves are wiping the floor with your reserves. I just want you to know that.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have the higher talent.
My team
So that's everybody, right? Booker,
is
Brown,
destroying your team.
Damian.
It's not a contest.
I don't know. You never know. It's an all-star game, though, so guys like Zach LaVine and Zion are going to get some more run. Plus, we might get to see some more CP3 trying to dunk.
I doubt it.
I got Rudy Gobert, locking it up.
Not locking my guys up.
Well, my starters,
He's
though.
just going to be running around in circles.
So my team is LeBron James, Steph Curry, Joel Embiid, Brad Beal, and Giannis. Malik starters are Durant, Luka, Jokic, Kyrie, and Kawhi.
That's nasty. That's filthy.
Durant's been out for a couple weeks because of COVID.
That's nasty, man.
I mean, look at the matchups.
Durant and Kawhi on defense.
LeBron versus Durant is always, a solid
That's
matchup.
Durant.
Curry versus Luka. Curry's gonna chef
Wait,
him
is
up.
it Curry versus Kyrie or Curry versus?
Oh yeah, I guess it'd be Kyrie in this case.
They're chefing each other up.
Yeah. Bradley
That
Beal.
cancels each other out.
Bradley Beal and Doncic. I guess if you want to put Luka.
They're chefing each other up.
too. And then I got Giannis and Kawhi. Woo, that's an interesting matchup.
Give me Kawhi.
And then
Give me
Embiid
Kawhi.
and Jokic.
That's a hell of a battle. That is a battle and a half.
That's why the All-Star game is fun. You do probably have me in the reserves. You got Damian Lillard, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Devin Booker.
Listen to that
Vucevic.
team.
You got Ben
Oh my
Simmons and James
God.
Harden as your
Oh
last two
my
picks.
God. Listen to my team.
Yeah, it's because I wanted to go fun on my
We are the
reserves.
champions. Cue the music.
I got Zach LaVine and Zion Williamson for the fun, late in the game dunks. Julius Randle because he's going to show out because
See-
it's his first.
See, you're here trying to go back to those boring games where it was 192 to 195.
No, because the
Those types
starters
of
the
games.
starters are going to come back in.
Oh, okay.
So the starters are going to come back in and
Nah.
close the game.
You want the score to hit 200, don't you?
No.
I want that old school 2001
They'd just be running back and forth.
battle. I want that battle of a game, sir.
Well, I mean, that's why we got CP3 and Gobert and even Paul George, good
This
defenders.
game can end in the 140s or 150s, but it'll be a grudge match. If you have a chance. If you have a chance.
Problem is, who's taking the last shot for your team?
Who's taking the last shot for my team?
Yeah. You got Durant,
KD?
Kyrie, Damian Lillard. You got KD? You going KD?
Yeah.
See, my team doesn't have
actually, wait. Well, Dame isn't a starter, but
Yeah.
I could still.
Well, that's what I'm
I
saying.
could still play. Dame is taking the shot.
to. See, and my
Dame
team,
time.
my team doesn't have to question who's close in the game. It's Steph Curry. We're not giving the ball to LeBron. We're not giving it to Embiid. We're not giving it to Giannis. Bradley Beal, maybe.
Brad, how about Brad?
Yeah.
Listen,
Bradley Beal.
the fact that you have to question this,
I'm just saying.
you have to go through the lineup.
That's a clear-cut answer.
It's Dame time.
Yeah,
Check the wrist. It's Dame time.
maybe.
Maybe.
But
Have
Durant
you
might
seen
want
what
that
he's
shot.
done?
Durant might want that shot. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Durant is one of the most unselfish stars of this generation.
Hmm.
Okay. You regret what you've done.
No.
I wish people could see the look on your face right now.
I like the size of my team. I like when they have like having LeBron, Giannis, and Embiid, and then you have two of the best 3-point shooters on the outside.
I think you don't believe what you're saying.
No, I believe 100% what I'm
Outside
saying.
of the 3-point shooters, I think you don't believe.
I'm
it.
always committed to my opinions.
I think once my guys step on that court, those opinions are going to start getting a little shaky.
Now I want these guys to be the actual rosters. There's no way it's not, because James Harden would not be the last pick in this draft.
He'd be top 3 easily. Yeah,
Do you think Vucevic is going to be the last pick in this draft?
most likely. Yeah. Bron will probably take CP with like the 3rd or 4th pick
Mm-hmm.
because of the love affair.
I'm just trying to decipher. All right. Well, that's basically it. That's basically our show for today. That was a lot more fun than I thought, actually. Maybe I'll send these in to LeBron and KD, see if they can just make this happen for us.
Are we doing NFL free agency talk next week then?
We have to do it at some point. I was trying
Yeah.
to figure out when to figure out how to do all that.
We still haven't talked Carson Wentz, have we?
No, not really.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
He
NFL
got traded to a new team.
There's a lot of, well, we might have mentioned it, but there's a lot of NFL stuff that
Yeah.
we just, it's been hard because basketball has been like back to the limelight and they've had a lot going on, especially with college and stuff, and NBA getting to that all-star break. But I mean, there's a lot of time still left in all the football stuff. So we'll try to get to that maybe after, actually, that's going to be really weird because after the all-star break is basically tournament breakdown stuff. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. It's gonna be crazy. But that's like why it's my favorite time of the year for sports. But you know, we'll get to it. We got plenty of time. We're gonna have fun with it. So anyway, this has been Views from the Sidelines. I'm your host, Joey Tysick. My partner, Malik Hill. We'll catch you guys next time. We need these all-star drafts.
I just hope everybody knows Joey copped out with the Defensive Player of the Year voting, and his team is very below average.
Copped out.
Copped out. You don't pay attention to the truth.